Let me just switch on the YouTube there.
We are live.
Yeah. Hi guys. Welcome to this new episode of MBA Brew. So today we'll be having a discussion among all three and the questions we have got from you guys regarding how to score 99 percentile in the XAT exam, and we'll talk on how the selection process is and other questions you may have. So let's start with it. So the first moderator will be Ushashi. She'll start with asking the questions. Ushashi, hand over to you.
Yes, Shantanu. Just wait a minute. Yeah. A warm welcome to all of you who are going to appear for XAT this year, January. And we all really hope that you guys crack it and do really well in XAT. So, I would ask Shantanu and Debayan to introduce themselves first and give a
Uh,
general. We shall all give a general intro. So, starting with Shantanu.
Right. Hi, my name is Shantanu. I'm currently studying at XLI Jamshedpur. I'm in first year and I'm doing the business management course at XLI. A bit about my background. I've done my physics honors at University of Delhi, Dayal Singh College. And thereafter, for a year, I was doing freelancing and other work, and I was preparing for the MBA exams. And thereafter, I joined XLI.
So, very well, Debayan.
sure. Hi, my name is Debayan Devnath, and I'm in first year of the HRM program, the batch of 23-25. So a bit about my background, if I have to delve in, I completed my graduation in the stream of mechanical engineering from the College of NIT Agartala. From there, I actually joined an organization called Topper, and in there I worked for 3 years in product development domain, and hence after I joined the HRM program in Accelerate. What do you,
So,
Shashi?
a brief introduction about myself. I am a BTech graduate from Heritage Institute of Technology, Kolkata. After that, I worked for 22 months in TCS, and I prepared for XAT examination alongside. And I am currently a student of the HRM program of Accelerate Jamshedpur. So that's a brief introduction about ourselves. So my first question would be to Shantanu. What do you think? How can someone ace that in a month?
Right. So, that if you talk about acing that in a month, that is something which can be done if you're really genius. But the thing is, you don't have a month, right? You have already people who are giving that already have done some kind of preparation for CAT and other MBA exams. So they have a background. They know how to solve questions. Just they need, the right direction to solve the problems which are differently asked in the that exam. For example, there's a new section, the decision making section, that needs to be thoda studied well. And then you have a bit of different kind of questions in quant and verbal ability, but the essence remains the same. Whatever you have prepared, just brush on your basics, strengthen them, and prepare for the new section, that is the DM section. Debayan might have something new to tell.
Uh,
Yes, Devayan, over to you.
Sure. Going into it, even the adding to the news section, that is a decision making one, which I term as a kingmaker of that, because decision making really increases the relative gap between you and the other prospective players in the game of that. But there is another section of the VALR in which you get both the VARC type question and sometimes some logical type questions also in there. So thereafter, you also get a chance to increase the relative gap between you and the other who are giving that. So in there, once you start giving the mocks, you'll understand the relative difference between how the cat plays the VRC and how the Z plays the VRC. So once you go through it, you can see that there is a huge amount of difference. And if you start going through this, and you'll see that you are able to glide through this section in a very easy manner. Once you start answering this question with relative to the question, that is one thing which I actually propose to each and every one of you. Just read through the question and then answer and then check the options and then answer it. Over to you, Shashi.
So, the thing is, I would just like to add on to what Devan said. The best part of that, what I felt was that there is no time limit for the individual sections. There is 2 hour 45 minutes apart from the general knowledge and the writing ability test section, and you can divide the time as much as you like. Like you can divide the time as per your convenience. So for me, what I did was my strongest point was VLR, and after that DM, and then QADI. So I gave so I had divided my time likewise. I needed more time for QADI because I needed more time to calculate. So I gave most amount of time to QADI, then followed by VLR and then DM. So you can allot your time likewise. And for VLR, I think the difference between ZAT and CAT would be in CAT you get very large essays, like you get a lot of like a very long essays, but in ZAT the length of the essays it is smaller, but the thing is the language might be a little difficult, and also the new thing that gets introduced in ZAT, we shall be talking about it later in this webinar as well, the poem summary, writing the summary of the, like choosing the summary of the poem, that is a very difficult and tricky part. So the best thing I think now, since there is less than a month left, I think the best thing would be giving mocks. I think my peers would all also agree to that.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
agree, and I'd like to add upon it. So, like Ushaji said, you gave mocks and you understand what are your strengths, right? For me, QA was relatively difficult. So, my strategy was to basically give more time to QA in the beginning. Then I attempted my strong points, which were VA and then DM, which was, a game changer, a new thing. So, that was my strategy. So, give mocks, understand what works for you, and then you proceed. But that is a very forgiving exam, in the sense you have a lot of time. You have the option to choose what to do first, what to do next on your own, unlike CAT, where you have to go this, and in 2 hours it's over. In that you have like 3 hours. You can easily give time to what takes more time, and work on your strong points.
Matlab in
sure.
CAT,
Mm.
if you choose a wrong set in LRDI, it's gone. Over. Khel khatam.
Definitely, it
In
actually
that,
takes up a good amount of your time. And if you just try the wrong approach, and if it takes out almost 10 minutes of your time, then you're done. Almost 30 minutes. There are only 30 minutes available to you to choose another set and answer it. In that sense, again, I agree with Shantanu that that is a very forgiving exam.
you
Also
do
coming to
not
the
face
fact,
that trouble.
yeah, definitely. So coming to again to the fact, like what my strategy was to give the DM section the first preference and try to understand the DM section, answer it. If I, even if was able to glide through it halfway done with an prospective and a good amount of accuracy in my mind, then I would switch over to the VLR section because it is one of the larger number of questions. So once you go into the VLR section and you are able to answer a good amount of it, then I would switch over to the QA section. So I gave QA the last preference in my case because QA came a little bit easier to me. So again, it's again different for each and every candidate. And once you understand your analysis, you will form your own strategy to your own mocks and by analysis of it. So this is something which takes formation of after almost attempting 2 to 3 mocks or even 5 mocks. But once the strategy forms, you will see your scores improving. So right now, even if you are attempting some previous year questions or some mocks, don't get disheartened by it. It generally reflects your strategy which needs to be formed, and once that gets formed, you will do wonders. So what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like for the preliminary mocks, you just need to form a strategy. You just need to check which is your strongest point and how much time you would allot to each of the sections. So that is the most important thing that you need to figure out right now. For example, for me, VLR did not take much time for me to solve, or DM took me about half an hour to solve. So I used to allot time likewise. I needed more time for QADI, so I put more time to QADI. So you need to form the strategy likewise in the first 2 3 mocks. So, my next question would be along the same line to Shantanu. how did you actually study decision making, and what were your resources?
Right. For me, decision making, it was a new section. So what I did was, I didn't, go into a lot of analysis on how to study, how to solve a particular decision making type of question, because decision making, as a part of that is mainly something which tests your inherent skills or inherent ideas about the world. So, as I'd mentioned in an interview with the ZAT convener, what it tests you is what kind of inherent ability do you have to make connections, to judge, and to empathize with the various roles that are giving the questions. So, my strategy was basically I attempted some mocks. I saw a few, videos which described how the questions were solved, what was the reasoning behind it, and I think that was it. That was it for my preparation. I got decent marks in the DM section, and I think there's for my perspective there's not much need to worry about the decision making section that much. Just take any course which you like, which you prefer. So for example, InsideIIM has a course on solving the decision making, right? And it shows how you approach the question. That is the main thing. How do you approach the question? And then you can easily solve through it and just give some mocks. That's all from my side. Debayan?
Sure. So coming to the DM section again. So as I have already reiterated, and I would like to iterate it again, that it's the kingmaker of the XAT exam. So once you go into it, just read what is there in the question first. It was my first and foremost strategy to read whatever is in the question. So even if I'm just giving a hypothetical scenario, even if it says that the sun rises in the west in the question paper, then in the option, even if it is written that the sun rises in the east, it's the wrong option. You have to go strictly by the question, and whatever is written in the question, that you should answer. So once you start forming this strategy in your head, that whatever is written in the question, I should abide by those rules only, and I will play along with those borders. Then you see your DM marks will increase drastically, because I faced those issues. I started from in DM. I started from using 2 to 3. I got around 2 to 3 marks in my first DM, first 2 to 3 DM mode. Then in the later part, I increased. It increased my marks. So just abide by the question's content, and that's it. That's the Ramban strategy in DM strategy, and of course in increasing your DM marks.
So, I would, adding on to what Devayan said, DM was surprisingly one of my favorite sections in ZAT, because I found DM extremely challenging. And the thing is, it depends a lot on intuition. Matlab, whatever, like, uh, it is not exactly maths. It is not exactly something like VLR, which depends on your language skills a lot, but it depends a lot on your common sense. For example, there are different types of DM problems: ethical problems, HR problems, operational decision making problems. For operational and some networking decision making problems, you need to, like, there are some decision making problems which ask you which would be the best route, which would be the best production capacity, and stuff like that. Those are very rare decision making problems that come in ZAT. But for that, you need to do some kinds of maths. But for major part of decision making problems, those come from the ethical decision making parts or the HR decision making parts. And for that, what you need to do is that you need to find the win-win solution. Until and unless it is a very extreme crime that has been committed in the problem, like that has been mentioned in the problem statement, don't go for any extreme option. The first thing that you need to do in decision making problems is stakeholder analysis. You need to find out which one is the most important stakeholder, and you need to arrange them in a descending order. And then you need to find a solution which satisfies most of the stakeholders. That is the strategy that I followed. And decision making also depends a lot on common sense. Having said that, InsideIIM also has a very good decision making course. I think Shantanu can show it. You can share your screen and show the poster if you can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you just share it right now?
Right, right. We'll put the link to the decision making course in the description. And for now, first of all, let's take some questions from YouTube. Would that be all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one question that I can see is a question related to, our classrooms in at B school. So, question by Ashutosh is, I have heard there are marks for CP or class participation in B school. Can you give some tips on that? So it seems Ashutosh has already, in his head, he has cracked the exam. That is good, and he wants to do how to do well in class participation. So, guys, any tips?
तो
So,
CP करना, DCP मत करना. Desperate class participation मत करना, CP कर लेना.
Right.
थोड़ा
again, answering this question, this is a question from after getting admitted to the B school. So let's focus on getting to the B school first
yes.
and cracking the cat Z with a great, with a wonderful marks. So that would be the answer. And once you get to the B school, you automatically understand how to do CP and all those things. So coming to the next question. So can you please specify what number should I consider as a good amount of questions and when solving for the first round of the exam? Shantanu, would you like to answer that?
Uh, right. So I see from my perspective, attempting a set number of questions, or going for thinking about what the kind of marks is good, is very relative to the year you are giving the exam. So, for example, in our year when we gave the XAT exam, if you compare it to the past years, the people got marks on a very higher end. So if someone would have thought, "Ki I'll attempt only these many questions and get only these many marks, then I'll have a good chance," then that would have harmed them. So I think the best strategy is to always have a balanced mix. So in that, you have this thing called negative marking for not attempting questions, right? So you have a leeway for 8 questions. If you miss more than 8 questions, you get a negative point for that. So you have to keep in mind key you have to keep a balance between the number of questions you attempt, and number of negatives you're getting for not attempting the questions. That's always there. So see, that as an exam is also testing in some way your managerial capacity to judge for the future key, what do you think would be the best option. So I think there's no specific answer, but a score above 50% is always great to have.
Yeah, that's true. One of the classic example of this is in the last year. So last to last year, what happened? A score of almost 34 or 35 was getting almost 98 or 99 percentile. But this year, in the that 2023, the a score of almost above 41 gave you a 99 percentile. So you can see a drastic change, and it depends on year to year, just as my friend Shantanu just iterated at this point. So again, what is a good number? There is no good number. Just attempt to give your best shot in the D-Day, and you can see that your numbers percentile is getting high. Just prepare well and give your best shot. Ushishi, would you like to add anything to that?
Exactly. No, my answer would be the same. Year, it depends on, it depends on the year. Like the pattern of the question, the difficulty level of the question, all these are very relative. So you cannot pinpoint a fixed marks that you need to get into XLRI or get a call from XLRI. You can't pinpoint a particular marks. You should try to solve as many problems as possible. You should try to get as much marks as possible, because you never know what score would bring you a 99 percentile or a good enough or a decent enough percentile to get into XLRI. So, my next question would be to Shantanu first. A preparation plan for DM and XAT overall. How many hours of study and daily schedule? Would you like to comment on that, Shantanu?
Right. So the thing is, during my prep, I was also sometimes working, as a freelancer. So I didn't have a very fixed schedule. I had done all the theoretical prep I had to do for CAT, all the quant prep, all the VRC prep. What I needed to do, from my perspective, was just to brush up on the topics I had some weakness in, and thoda sa prepare for the DM section. So my strategy was very simple. So between CAT and ZAT, there are almost about 4 weeks. Now about 3 weeks are left. So my strategy was to give like 1 or 2 mocks a week, not many, not that less also. So that, along with analyzing what mistakes I did, was very helpful for me. And I also brushed up on my quant section because that was a weak section for me. And one thing which is different in the VARC section was the poems part. So Zat has this last year's yesteryears had poems which whose answers you could not even guess that easily. You had to apply a lot of logic, but hopefully this year they'll be better from what I hear. So those were there, those were the differentiators, and just focus on them, focus on strengthening what you already have learned. That was what worked for me.
Again,
Debayan, yeah.
adding to this point for DM, I would say just go with the question, understand the question. That is the main differentiating factor between you and the person next to you who will be giving the exam. The one who understands the question, analyzes the question, and tries to and finds that the question gives you an ample amount of information to answer each of the option and to eliminate each of the option. That is the best strategy, and that is the only preparation you need, in my opinion. Because in mocks when you go in, you never choose the option. You should always eliminate the options. Because if you go into choosing the option, you'll see almost all of the five options are correct. But when you go by eliminating the option, you'll say four can be eliminated. The last one to be remaining, that is the last one standing, is the winner or the correct option. So again, going through this fact, I can say this is a strategy which takes some times to form accuracy, but it is a strategy which has been proven and time proven and everything. So for preparation again, it's a DM is again a real life decision making test. Because when you encounter such problems in real life, what is the kind of solution you would say to your peers, or what are the what are the options that you would take? That is essentially the DM section in that. So again, just understand the scenario, because the scenario will be aptly given in the question. So that is the main thing. What do you guys?
Yes, so for me, the preparation strategy was mostly during this period of time. All through December, I only gave mocks, mocks after mocks, sectional mocks, full mocks, topic tests. I kept on giving mock tests, and mostly full mocks and sectionals for that. Because for me, the preparation for QA, the topics for QADI and VLR were already covered for CAT, and I needed to give as many mocks as possible to familiarize myself with the question pattern. And that I think was essentially needed, and that I think is very much needed. I would suggest you guys to give as many mocks as possible, because that actually makes you familiar to the question pattern. And for DM also, practicing past year papers and appearing for as many mocks as possible will actually give you confidence in the examination as well. So try to do that.
Sure. One of the other question which I'd like to take is this: what is the main difference between CAT and ZAT's quant? What different thing to do while preparing Z quant apart from CAT? Ushashi, would you like to take this?
Yeah, so the thing is, for me, in both ZAT and CAT, I would like to tell the problem that I faced in both of them. I was a bit slow in calculating. Matlab, I needed more time to calculate. So in CAT, the problem that I faced was that in my slot, in CAT 2022, in my slot, the quant portion was a little lengthier. The calculations were a little difficult. So I faced a little time crunch in CAT. I used to face a little time crunch in CAT. In ZAT, what I like, my experience was that in ZAT, the quant section is easier than CAT. Okay, but there are long DIs, lengthy DIs in ZAT, and more than CAT, more in number than CAT. So you need time to calculate, but there is also ample amount of time in ZAP. If you manage to allot the time accordingly, you get to solve the problems at ease. As many as you like, according to your time allotment. So that was the main difference that I felt between ZAT and CAT: the allotment of time, and and probably how you solve it, how you approach to solve the problems.
Sure,
Right.
Shantanu,
So
would you
as
like to?
Ushoshi said, for me also the main thing which helped me in that, especially solving the quant, was the time thing. I had a lot. I could do, coming from a physics background, I was able to solve maths questions well, but again the problem of calculating fast, not fast enough, was what hampered my CAT scores. So for that, it was for me DI was I felt DI was easier for me interpreting the data and working with that. And I gave a lot of time to the whole quant section, QA and DI. and that actually fetched me, the highest amount of percentiles in the sections I got in quant only. So the difference again is the time limit, the pressure you have, and how you approach questions. In that, if you have the fundamentals correct, you will be able to crack the questions. If it takes maybe 1 minute or 2 minute more, but you'll be able to crack it. But in cat, you have a time boundedness which creates an increased pressure on you. I think that's the main difference. Otherwise, the concepts are same, the topics are largely the same.
Sure. So again, for me, what is the main difference between the Z and the cat quant? So for me, if I had to say discuss about it, cat quant was a little bit on the conceptual application side and a bit of a theoretical application side. It totally involved a combination of concepts also at some points because cat quants involve cat actually quants, as you might have seen in your mocks analysis and also and even after appearing for the cat exam of this year, you might have seen this. Those didn't have required that many steps. It was all about the correct application of the theory at the correct with the correct steps, and you would have got the answer. But again, you need to know the theory and you know the correct combination. But in Z, this is something which you have to look out for. In that, the question at some point may look lengthy, but if you know the theory, even if you know the basic theory, you can go through this. And since that gives you an ample amount of time also to solve the quant at that point of time question, so you can just go with the basic understanding. And of course, I'm also saying this to the non-engineers also, since some of you have pointed out the point that quant may come a little quant may come as a little bit of difficult to you because again it's a little bit of a thing. So what you can do, polish your basic understanding of quant. And for some topics like geometry, and geometry is one thing which comes it gives a lot of questions in Z at some points. And then algebra, arithmetic, and PNC, and all those modern then modern maths like stats, and also all of those things, even probability. So for those questions, form a basic understanding of what the theories are. And once you go through the mocks, you'll understand the different kinds of questions which come from those kinds of theories. And I would say, just while understand those questions, understand the application of those theories, and understand how this can get revolved around. Some questions may revolve around a singular theory, and you might not even know that this is the only that this same theory is getting applied. So just go through it and you'll be able to understand the difference of the application of the theory. Like in probability, you might say that that the base solution or the base theorem in probability is something which gets applied at certain condition. But again, if you go to the reverse one, you might not just recognize it. So this is something which gets into you through practice. So I would just say for that, even with the basic understanding of the theory, it will solve your question. You'll be able to solve a good amount of question. I guarantee you that you'll be able to solve a good amount of question with the basic theory, and even in the long approach. Since okay, Z gives a long amount of time for quant. So again, if quant is not a strong forte, I would first request you to go through DM, VRC, and then go last into quant, and of course go with an ample amount of time. So this is the strategy which I can propose at this point of time.
Also, focus more on DI, I think, because that DI, it might seem lengthy at first, but those data interpretations are quite easy. If you practice it enough, they turn out to be easy. So just focus on DI a lot. They might bring you a lot of marks in the QA section if you are not confident about a lot of confident about solving a lot of quants. Focus on DI. So that gives you that opportunity. So I would ask Shantanu another question. That would be after CAT, did you only prepare for DM or did you brush up VLR or QADI as well?
Right, as I already pointed, I actually brushed upon the other, sections as well because, my cat didn't go really well in most of the sections. So I thought, ki, why not, improve upon what I've already studied. So my first move was to actually brush up on quant, which was a weaker side for me. And then alongside, I was also doing DM mocks and seeing the DM explanation videos. How the main thing about DM again is the thinking, the rationale behind the questions, and how to approach them. As Debayan suggested, there's a particular way of thinking. Stakeholder analysis, as Ushasi mentioned. So all these concepts you can learn watching the videos. Even InsideIIM has that course. So those videos give you an insight into how to solve DM, and you should ideally brush up on the other topics if you're not well versed, right? And that will keep you, that practice will help you in the D day to solve fast and keep a sharp mind.
Debayan, what was your strategy? Did you only practice DM or brushed up QA and work as
So
well?
sure. So for that thing, actually what I have done for the entire Q, I had formed a video of the lectures which I attended as a recorded class. So I compiled some videos and there was some revision video. So even after attempting each and every mock, or even before attempting any mock, what I was doing, revising the quant theories and the problems each time I take. It was a 2 hour long video which I compiled, and this was my only source of revision. And this actually provided me with an ample amount of information which I would need during the exam. So this is something which I compiled for myself, and you guys can do this also if you have those video sources. Otherwise, your own notes may work. Just go through the notes before. Just go through and just look through it. Just brush through it, and once you can remember those theories, and it would just take hardly 30 minutes to 1 hour. So again, going to DM or the VRC thing, so for VRC, I used to give an ample amount of my time in sectionals. So sectionals used to give me an overall idea of my standing at different scenarios, at different scores, and a different amount of difficulty also. So this is something which you get again through various practice at different times. So again, coming to the DM, DM is a section that doesn't require that kind of preparation, because it is a very realistic scenario, and it comes as a different problem at different times, because you can't even predict how the DM section might come. So this is something which again comes through practice. Once you form a general understanding of how to solve the or how to attempt the DM questions and how to solve the DM questions, then you will see that your scores will improve. But different kinds of DM things might come. If it may sometimes in our questions, Ushashi and Shantanu, you might recall that there are some calculation based DM questions also. So again, those required a little bit of a DI and a little bit of a realistic scenario application. So again, don't try to predict each and everything. Go with a free mind, which will form anything. Just attempt those questions with your own understanding while staying within the borders of the question, and you'll rock through the DM section. That was my preparation for all the three sections.
Yeah, so same goes for me. I brushed through the QA and VRC as well. For me, I think for each MBA entrance exam like CAT, XAT, SNAP, the basic thing is you need to practice and give a lot of mock tests. Because, for example, CAT, VRC, that is not something that you can learn. That is not something that you can mug up. That is something that you need to practice. You need to solve as many RCs as possible to know how to solve them. DM also is the same thing. You need to know a few things. You need to study a bit. For DM, you need to study a bit. But then after that, it's on you. You need to practice as much as you can. So also this year, I think there's a problem that CAT did, uh, CAT did not go well for many people. So any advice, Shantanu and Debayan, on how to move on and start preparing for that? Uh,
So if
I
if
I
we are
mean,
not,
Sure,
if we
yeah,
Shantanu,
are
go ahead.
just,
I
huh.
mean, CAT did not go for me that well also. Honestly speaking, I got a very low percentile. And it is difficult to, cope up with it for a first few days, but then already, almost 15 days have passed since the CAT exam has happened. Now you should be on full gears on, studying hard for the upcoming exams like SNAP and XAT, which is happening. So, I mean, you have to move ahead. Defeat is a part of life. You learn something, you lose something, but then you rise up again. So the thing is, as I mean, everyone would have got some. A lot of people would have got, scare from the CAT exam. So you need to just buckle up, thoda sa study hard, and you can crack it. You have to believe in yourself. Deban?
Sure. So again, I was also in what you guys are facing right now, that cat didn't go cats I didn't expect that much of a low score which I got in cat, because I expected something more, but I wasn't able to get that. but that is something which you shouldn't buckle you down, because at the end of the day, your only purpose and only purpose of your preparation, only aim of preparation is to get one of the seats in one of the one of the best B schools. So that should be your ultimate aim. So in order to achieve that, you can't really rest until the entire journey is until the entire test journey is finished, because after the test journey is finished comes the entire GDPI phase and all those other secondary things again. So at a certain point of time, you should understand what are your priorities. Right now, your priority should be on how to ace the coming exams like that. So once you just air, once you give your best to give the Z exam, to ace the Z exam, you should be able to, and then you should take the rest or whatever you want to do. But again, at this point of time, this is not your priority, and you should understand you right now, your priority is to get a good is to get a seat in XLRI if you are not sure about your CAT scores and all those things. But again, this is up to you now, and you should be your priority, and is this the way you should go? For me, that was the thing that worked. Keeping a positive mindset and just ushering away all the negative things. That's the thing that worked for me.
I would say that do not bother about your CAT score or response sheet right now, because many things change after your results are out. You cannot predict anything from your CAT scores right now. Last year also, after the response sheet for CAT was out, I remember bawling my eyes out. I was crying so hard ki my exam did not go well. I have lost. I am going to lose another year. Blah blah blah. But when the results came out, and after that, I got many calls through CAT as well, and I had converted them as well. So these things happen. CAT, the entire phase of CAT is very long. You have to give numerous MBA entrance examinations, and after that, there will be an entire phase of GDPI and everything. Every game can change in this scenario. And trust me, if try to ace that, like ge- prepare prepare your heart out for that, because if you can crack this examination, it will be really great for you. Take it from me, it will be great for you. So do not bother about CAT right now, and give it your all. Give it all for that.
Okay, so going with the next question, I would like, so there is something all the aspirants ever want to know about how to write the essay section. And of course, so there is one other section called GK in XAT. So how did you guys prepare for this?
So
Yeah, Ushashi, go first.
okay. So the GK and the SS section, these are the sections which are not counted in the percentile calculation, right? So I actually do not know where GK and SA section, these come into play when after the GDPI, I think, mostly. So for GK, I think brushing through current affairs, being well versed with the regular news, and reading books like Monorama Yearbook or something of that, like Aryan. There is a GK book of Aryan as well. You can go through these materials for the static and the static GK. And for the current affairs, you can go through good newspapers like The Hindu. You can take subscription. Those will help you during GDPI as well. Being well versed with current affairs and static GK will help you in GDPI a lot. So it is better to get subscription of Hindu and get GK books like Aryant or Manorama Yearbook and follow them. For writing, Shantanu, please answer about the essay section.
Right. So again, reiterating. So I talked about this in my interview with the ZAT convener. So the essay and the GK section are only counted for the XLRI selection process, the XLRI GDPI part. Therein they can ask you, what questions were asked in the GK, why did you get this marks, and they can test you on that basis, and they can also question you basis your essay that you have written. So GK, as Ushashi mentioned, those are my primary sources. Manorama yearbook that I had, and I also had a book called Lucents. So it's not necessary, but if you have it, great. And then I read The Hindu. I had taken a subscription, which helped me further in the interview rounds also. And for the essay, essays mainly about how to write your thoughts out in a very systematic manner in the less amount of time that you have. So you have a very short time for writing the essay, and depending upon your typing speed, you may not be able to write much. So my point would be basically to have a clarity of thoughts and to write things in a systematic manner, and that will fetch you the brownie points in the interview time.
Okay, so going with my strategy for the preparation of the essay and GK part. So what I used to do at during my preparation, I used to watch all the YouTube channels regarding all the current affairs and all other things like some other YouTube channels which actually provided all the information of what's currently going around in our country and also around the world. So I actually took notes of them and kept it in my own digital notebook, and I used to revise them day in and day out. So like the whatever I had written 10 days prior, I used to revise them even after 10 days, whatever fit under after 10 days also. So that it actually is something which should be kept in my mind, because it may be the point which I can use in a future essay. So again, going with this thing, GK and essay preparation for me actually was coming hand in hand. So once you start preparing for the GK, you will see that you are well versed with the current affairs. You are well versed with whatever is going around in the world, and sometimes even once you start reading the newspapers like the Hindu and the Economic Times, you'll understand also of course you should read the editorials in there, because they help to form a general idea of what is going around for social purposes, and also what is going around in your community and all those things. So this is something which is actually forms in your mind, and on the D day when you are asked regarding what are answers to those GK questions and what are your opinions on the essay, so those thoughts should be in your mind. So essay and GK, it doesn't just come out of the blue. You can't just literally go into the exam center and answer those questions about essay. You should always have a general idea about it first. So along with this, what I used to do every night, I used to write around different set of word limit. I used to set a word limit for myself, and I used to set a time limit for myself also. And I used to try it, and I used to write for those word limit. I used to see that whether I can write out this a good essay within those word limit and within this stipulated amount of time or not. So this is something which revved me up, and it actually helped me on the D-Day. So I would say maintain your GK. That is what you have also been trying to do by gliding through the current affairs. What you have been doing for the past few days, because it is something which is needed for the interview preparation. Also, you must have been doing this. So go just do those things. Keep a proper note of what you're studying and revise those, and just go along with the essay preparation. That is the only mantra I can give you.
Also
Right.
for essay
So yeah. Ushasi.
Yeah, for essay preparation, you can also go through common GD topics that are actually asked in the interview, because the essay question is often in the lines of the GD topics that are often given in the GDPI. So you can practice writing essays based on that, and going through and being well versed with current affairs and static GK is very much needed, because you can't imagine the emphasis on it during GDPI. So if you are well versed with current affairs and if you're really eloquent on those lines, it will really help you. It will increase your chances by manifold. Go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah. So moving on with the next segment, we'll take some questions from the live chat. So there's this question by Ansh about how does the negative marking system regarding the 8 unattempted questions work? Anyone of you would like to answer that? Explain it.
Would you like to go about that?
Yeah.
So the thing is, the negative, you don't need to worry that much about it right now. Try to solve as many questions as possible and try not to leave more than 8 questions in any of the sections. The thing is, you have to strike a balance between doing mistakes and leaving questions. It is a trade-off that you need to do during the examination. And that understanding kind of comes from, as we have, like reiterating what we have told before as well, from giving mocks. You need to give mocks and understand where you can leave questions, which topics are your strong points, which topics are your pain points, and you can decide how to leave questions likewise. But on the day of the exam, the entire pattern may change. You might not get, like, it might not be as your mocks. So it's a trade-off, it's a decision that you may need to make right at that point of time, that I'm going to leave this many questions. I'm going to, if I do mistakes in the other questions, so that is a trade-off that you need to do at that point of time. You cannot decide that beforehand. I don't think you can. I did not decide that before. My
Right.
strategy was
So
to not to leave many questions. That was my
mhm.
strategy. So
Right. Let's move on to the next question. So basically, a question about how to do mock analysis by Anushka. So any of you would like to explain that process? Debayan?
Sure. So for the mock analysis part, let's consider the DM or the say quant is your not a strong forte. So if I'll be doing the mock analysis, I'd first take up that part and try to understand the application of the formulas and application of all the combined theories which I've just iterated about, and try to see what is getting really implied in this question, which will help me decide on what theories should I take. So once you form that understanding, you will understand that you don't need that many theories or that many things, but you need only a sample amount of theories. So once you form a strong base for your weak forte, then you should move around to your, let's say another section is your not so weak forte, then should go into this, and then repeat the same process. So the thing to follow in mock analysis is this: you should identify your weak parts and try to improve upon them, because to err is human. To err first is something which you should see that you can make a wrong thing on your first attempt, but in the second attempt, if you make the wrong attempt again, then you should just see that why you are doing the same thing as wrong going on. So so you should understand that I shouldn't make these wrong things on a repeated basis, because if you're doing this wrong on a repeated basis, then it might get reattempted on your D-day also. You shouldn't repeat that. So try to understand, try to form a solid foundation on what you understand. So this is how the mock analysis should be for different section. The section may be different, but again, the analysis pattern and the analysis method is the same. And this is how you should do it: form a solid foundation, form a solid base on how on what you think is doing wrong. Try to understand on how you can make it right, and thus you can make it right on your next try. And once you start making it right on your next tries, you just don't need to go back and see how now this is done, because you have already formed a understanding of it. Then go into next week areas. This is how mock analysis should be done, and this is how I have done it.
Right. So, guys, before we sign off. You can take free ZAT mocks from the InsideIIM website. You can join the DM masterclass if you think you need extra help, and that also gives you privilege to some mocks. And also, you can join the WhatsApp group by InsideIIM for discussion with ZAT mentors, right, who have already taken the exam. So finally, I think we'll wrap this up. We'll ask, what concluding advice we all can give. We'll go with Debayan first.
Sure. So again, so for cat, it is over. Whether you've done well it in, you may have done not done so well in it. You may have done great in it. Whatever is done, bygone is bygone. Just leave it behind. Go with the Z. Just rock your preparation and trust in your preparation, and it'll help you make a good score. And once you get a good score, then everything will glide through it. That's my last statement to each and everyone. Just trust your preparation and be true to your preparation.
Right. Ushushi?
Yeah, so I would start by saying that even if your cat has not gone well or as expected, do not worry about that right now, because nothing is over yet. There is a long battle that you need to fight. There is a long way to go. The GDPI changes everything. Also, ZAT is a very forgiving exam, as we have told you before. And ZAT is an exam where you can actually do well if you practice well. So my suggestion would be utilize this time to give as many mocks as possible, practice as much as possible, and try to brush up the old concepts as well as learn new concepts of DM, and give as many mocks as possible. Jitna bhi ho sake, give mocks. And make sure that you have no regrets on the day of the ZAT exam. Just crack it. Just ace
Right.
it.
Right. So, as both of you mentioned, that the CAT exam is gone, let bygones be bygone, and that is a very forgiving exam in the sense you actually don't need to score, 99 percentile to get into top B schools like XLRI. Because XLRI judges you not only on your ZAT performance but also on the GDPI scores. You can get a 95 percentile and still get into XLRI. So I think you should do your best, take all the advice, apply it well, and do well, sleep well on the D-Day, and just give the exam, just rock it. That's all from all of us. Thank you,
Yes.
guys.
All the best, guys.
All the
All the
best.
best.
Good.